Good morning. It is 5:02 on Monday, December 3rd, 2012. This is Kansas City's Morning News. I'm E.J. Becker.
I'm Ellen Shank. Our top stories.
Against the backdrop of an unthinkable tragedy, the Kansas City Chiefs have given themselves a reason to be proud and begin the healing process.
Offering help to victims of domestic violence, what experts are saying needs to happen.
And tens of thousands of cars on the recall list. We'll tell you about those as well. In business news, how about the numbers on Wall Street?
Dow futures are up 20 points. NASDAQ has risen 9. S&P up by 1.
It's 5:03 on KMBZ.
Our prayers go out to the family of Cassandra Perkins. They are grieving, and we send our condolences to that family. Our prayers and condolences go out to the family of Javon Belcher. They are also grieving. Our prayers and hopes go out to a 3-month-old Zoe, little girl who will never get to know her mother and father.
Chiefs head coach Romeo Crennel speaking words no head coach should ever have to. He talked following the Chiefs game on Sunday, just over 24 hours after linebacker Javon Belcher shot and killed his girlfriend in their home, drove to the Chiefs practice facility and took his own life in front of the coach, the defensive coordinator, and general manager Scott Pioli.
The tragedies of Saturday overshadowed what would normally be an exciting victory. We'll tell you about the game in a moment, but first, the locker room was somber with a lot weighing on the players' minds. Our Kyle Hendricks joins us live with a reaction from those that took the field on Sunday. Kyle?
Ellen, without a doubt, yesterday's game was secondary to the events that transpired Saturday morning. Players talked about how what happened affected them as they tried to get ready to play. Quarterback Brady Quinn says it was tough for him to focus.
I'd walked in the locker room, and I didn't look towards his locker. But then as I sat down, when I first got in, I looked across, and I saw his jersey hanging up, and his locker was still filled with everything. And that was when it kind of hit me.
Quinn says the team is still in shock, and he thinks the full weight of what happened will begin to hit the guys in the coming days. Live in the newsroom, Kyle Hendricks, KMBZ News.
Of course, I've heard it put this way, that what happened on Saturday is without precedent in professional sports in the United States. And then what happened on Sunday is without precedent, at least this season.
Here's the area where Romeo Crennel says they've got to get better. In the red zone, and that's Hillis, and Hillis is in for the touchdown.
Perhaps you might say the Chiefs began the healing process when Peyton Hillis pounded the ball into the end zone on the opening drive of Sunday's game. The Chiefs played a near flawless game, getting their second win of the year, beating the Carolina Panthers 27-21. The Chiefs, who've had 32 turnovers on the year, didn't have any yesterday and committed only a single penalty. And from that, we turn back to the ongoing investigation into Saturday's tragedy.
As investigators search for a motive to help explain why Belcher killed his girlfriend and then himself, a discordant picture of the couple has begun to emerge. A friend of Cassandra Perkins said the couple had lived apart briefly earlier in the year, but had gotten back together by Thanksgiving. Of course, on Saturday morning, Belcher shot himself after police say he killed Perkins in the argument. The friend said the couple argued about normal couple stuff, but their friend was really happy about being a mom.
Now, while police never responded to calls of domestic violence at the couple's home, in Missouri, more than 40,000 cases of domestic violence were reported in 2011. Mary Ann Matheny with the Hope House tells KMBZ and our partners at Channel 9, signs of domestic violence are not always obvious.
Unless you hear something or see something, you may not be aware. So it's often that we hear, oh, I had no idea that person was capable of doing that. It can be a very hidden crime.
The Hope House said the most critical thing someone can do to support a victim is to believe them, validate what they say, rather than to question it. And domestic violence took center stage at Arrowhead Stadium on Sunday.
Fans and players held a moment of silence for the victims of domestic violence before the game.
Fans joined the Chiefs organization in a moment of silence to remember all victims of domestic violence and their families.
Javon Belcher's name was not mentioned either before or after that observance.
Chiefs players say they plan to create a benefit for Zoe. She is the 3-month-old girl left orphaned by Belcher's acts on Saturday. KMBZ News Time now is 5:06. We will continue to have in-depth coverage of this throughout the morning. We'll be speaking with a sports psychologist in the 7 o'clock hour. Of course, we'll go in-depth with our teammates at 610 Sports Radio. Bob Fesco, Danny Parkins will join us. And at 6:40 this morning, Mayor Sly James, who sort of became the public face of this on Saturday for much of the country. He going to Arrowhead and speaking to the press and to the media about the events and about Kansas City. Mayor Sly James, 6:40 this morning, live here on Kansas City's Morning News.
Leawood police looking for two men they say shot a McDonald's employee during an attempted robbery. Happened about 11 o'clock Saturday night in the restaurant at 119th and Row. The two men, described by police as in their 20s with medium builds, fled in a white or silver SUV. One man wore dreadlocks, a gray zip sweatshirt with a muscle shirt underneath. The second man wore a white sleeveless shirt over a red hooded sweatshirt. The employee was taken to the hospital where the condition has not been released. If you have any information about this crime, call police.
A Roland Park father accidentally shot his 16-year-old son as the two prepared to hunt in Miami County on Saturday. Shooting happened as the two were near 255th Street and Old Kansas City Road. The father got out of his vehicle, reached back inside to grab his rifle stored behind the seat. That's when it went off and hit his son's gun. Bullet fragments then went into the son's hand and abdomen. No word on how the teen is doing this morning.
More than 430 hostess employees affected by the company's shutdown will get the tools today to help them find a new job. The Missouri Department of Economic Development is hosting a series of free meetings today and tomorrow at the Union Hall on Emmanuel Cleaver Boulevard. The meetings are for employees in both Kansas and Missouri.
What do they want to do? What are their skills? What marketable skills do they have? Do they want to go and learn a new trade? What openings are out there? We want to get them thinking that way right away, because a lot of people don't know where to go, when they have such a sudden layoff.
That's Economic Development spokesman John Fougere. The meetings start at 10 a.m. and at 2 p.m.
The superintendent of the Kansas City Schools, Dr. Stephen Green, reconsidering reopening the district's middle schools. The schools were closed in 2007 after former Superintendent Anthony Amato said they were highly underperforming and unsafe. We have an update on progress for a memorial marking another terrible tragedy in Kansas City's history. We'll get to that just after traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s. It is 5:09 now on Kansas City's Morning News. Hey, Major Miles, good morning.